Good day and welcome to another interesting episode of our online tutorials. This is Justice from the Onyx Fashion Academy. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at how to make an off-shoulder Igbo blouse. We could stop at the waistline and give it add a peplum to it. We could also make it a straight blouse down to the hip. So in this video, we're making a straight blouse, something that you can use wrapper to tie on top. So without wasting time, we'll have the measurements. We'll be needing a bust circumference divided by 4, under bust circumference divided by 4, waist circumference divided by 4, hip circumference divided by 4 plus 1, because we don't want it to be fitted since it's something that the wrapper is still going to cover. We want to be free at the hip area. Then we need our nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 plus 0.5. These are the width parameters, that's the circumference. Then talking about the length, we want to measure from our shoulder to the bust point, to the under bust, to the waist, and to the hip. Okay? Now for the off shoulder, we usually take away something from it. It doesn't begin from the shoulder properly. And in this case, I want to minus 5 inches. You could use other methods to achieve what you want to do, but I'm using this particular method. It has been working for me, and I believe it will work for you too. So the depth of the neckline I'm using is 5 inches. I might also add a sweetheart neckline of 1 inch, making it up to 6. So that means if you want to use something like 6 inches and you still want to give it another kind of shape that will deepen the neckline, you need to stop like 1 inch above so that the remaining one will produce it to give the style, so that at the end of the day it doesn't come down so low and the person wearing it will not like it. So in this case, I'm using -5. This is just a sample. You can decide to use 4 inches, 3 inches, 5, 6, 8, and all the rest of them. Okay, so I'll place my tape at the edge of this paper. In that case, from 1 to 5 is outside, and so whatever measurement I'm going to take will begin from here. Assume I've minused the 5, which will be added to the sleeve later on. So from my shoulder to my bust line, bust point, I have 11. This is 11. To my under bust, I have 14. To my waist, I have 17. And to the hip line, I'm using 25. Those are the length parameters. Now on this line, we want to rule them in such a way that we'll see it properly. Now after ruling those lines in such a way that we'll see it, what you want to take again is a bust span or nipple to nipple measurement. I said we'll take it divided by 2 plus ½ inch, and so according to my answer, I have 4 inches. So from the beginning of this part, I will measure 4 inches in and rule it up to the entire length of the blouse. Now I've marked the line 4 inches from this fold, 4 inches up and down, straight line. Now this is the bust line. I'm going to come down by ½ inch from the bust line. This is the bust line. I'm coming down by ½ inch and I'm going up by ½ inch. Okay, now this is the under bust. At the under bust, depending on how big the size of the bust is, okay, for my size I use 1¼ For someone who is bigger, I use 1½. So the measurement is not stable. It's not like it's just 1½ and that is how it is for everyone. If you could use 1½ for someone who is smaller, and the place will become empty. Okay, so you use it according to the size of the bust. In this case, we're using 1/1/4 for our measurement. So what I'm going to do is to measure 1/1/4 on this side, 1/1/4 on the other side. Okay. Now at the waist, I'm measuring 1 inch on both sides, 1 inch this way, 1 inch the other way. Okay, now from the top of the paper, remember we're taking -5. I did -5. This is the -5. I'm placing it at the edge of the paper. I will measure up to 22 inches. Measuring up to 22 inches, that is where the dart will close. So what I'll have to do is to connect from this 1/2 inch I came down from the bust line down to the under bust to the waist, and then close it up at 22 inches before the hip line. So I will use my curve, connect the lines this way. Okay, and then connect to the waistline. And straighten it up to the 22 inches below. That is how it's going to look. Right now at this upper part also, we're going to still take away 1 inch on both sides. If you can see it properly. At the upper part of the neckline, we're taking 1 inch on both sides. 1 inch this way, 1 inch this way. Now from this 1/2 inch above the bust line, we'll connect on a straight line. Hope you can see it properly. Now the next thing we're going to do is to take our measurements, the circumference for everything we've drawn. Now for the bust, we're taking a circumference to be 9¾ Remember, we do not take away anything from this place, and then we've added the sewing allowance for the dart. So we're just going to take our measurement plus our sewing allowance. Our measurement for the bust is 9¾ So measure 9¾ here plus 1 inch sewing allowance. Now at the underbust is 8¼ 8¼ we'll measure first. Now measure the dart you took away, the distance. We have altogether 2½. You add the 2½ from where the measurement stops, and then add 1 inch sewing allowance. At the waist, we're measuring our normal measurements, and that is 8¾ we measure 8¾ measure the darts. It's giving us 2 inches. We add 2 inches to our measurement, and then add 1 inch sewing allowance. At this point, we did not take away anything here. I hope you can see it properly. Now at 22 inches, we did not take any measurement, so the measurement for the hip will cover everything. For the hip, our hip was 40, we divide by 4, we have 10 plus 1 inch, that's 11. Then plus 1 inch sewing allowance. This is what we have. Now at this point we're not going to have a perfect curve because of this dart. Until we fold it, then we can have a very nice shape for what we want to do. But then what we want to do is, if we are not using a lace fabric, and especially where you want the lace to, the mouth of the lace to show at the lower part of the dress, you don't need to curve that side of the blouse. But once you're using something like Ankara and you're going to fold it up, you want to come up by 1 inch, come up by 1 inch, then locate the middle of the blouse and connect the lines this way so that it doesn't have a sharp edge like that. So all we have to do now is to connect our lines. Remember, I said we don't have a perfect shape now because we've not taken in the darts and all that. So just doing a rough work. See how this place is looking. Just doing a rough work. Once we sew it, then we can have a perfect look. Now for this upper part, I usually sew up the dart first before cutting away the width of the neckline that I want. But here I want it to be really an off shoulder. It's not going to fall so well and not going to hang. So for me, I use 5 inches. That's excluding the dart. So you could measure 5 inches here and then add the dart, which is 2 inches, to get exactly where your 5 inches will be, and that will be around here. So wherever the neckline stops, that is where the armhole begins. So assuming I've folded this dart, I've sewn it, I will now measure my neckline. If I'm using 3 inches, that is, I don't want it to fall at all. It's just going to be at my shoulder. 3 inches. Then my neckline begins at this point of joining down to where it should be. If I'm using 4 inches, this is 4 inches, that is where the armhole begins. If I'm using 5 inches, that is equally where my armhole begins. Okay, so wherever your neckline stops, your armhole begins from there. Now to measure the depth of the armhole, remember we've taken away 5 inches. Let's assume our neckline stops here. We're taking away 5 inches and we want the depth of our armhole to be 9 inches. If you're calculating your armhole, you could use your shoulder measurement to calculate your armhole. You could use your measure the roundness of your arm and use it to get your armhole. So let's assume we're using 9 inches for the depth of our armhole. We've taken away 5, which is going to be added to this length of the sleeve, and we now have 1, 2, 3, 4 left. So this is where we're measuring the depth of our armhole. Okay, so we connect as usual in a slanted form. I could use an armhole measurement. You could use an armhole curve or any curve you know that can give you a perfect shape, and roll, then connect to this point, and that's all. We have our front off shoulder. Remember I said if you're going to add peplum, you just stop at the waistline and add whatever you want to add. But this is a full blouse, a full mother's blouse. Now for the shape of the neckline, if you're using a sweetheart neckline, you want to come down by 1 inch or thereabout, depending on what you want. We'll measure 1 inch here. This is 1 inch, yes. So from this point, we're going to connect in a slanted form. So this is the front of the blouse. This side is going to have a deep something, the sweetheart neckline. and then the rest is the other parts of it. Okay, so that's it for the front part of Igbo blouse. Let's look at the back side of it. So welcome back. So this is the back side of the blouse we're making, the off-shoulder blouse. Remember, we took out 5 inches for the depth of the neckline, and then we have our bust line. Well, at the back we're not going to make use of the underbust. The underbust was just for the front. So we also know that we should know that the back waistline and the front waistline are not of the same height. So at the back waistline we're using 15.5. that is front waistline minus 1.5, and that is giving us 15.5. This is our 22, and this our hip line. So before taking any measurement, we want to bring out our zipper allowance, 1 inch zipper allowance, up to down. Draw a straight line for that. Now any other measurement we're going to take will start after the zipper allowance. So here we're taking our bust span measurements, which is 4 inches, and we rule straight down. Okay, straight down to the waistline, the 22, and hip line. I'll use a marker to highlight this so that all of us can see it properly. Now at the waistline, what we're going to do, what I usually take out is 3/4 on both sides. So at one side I'll measure 3/4, at the other side also I'll measure 3/4. Okay, now I'll connect the 2 lines to the bust point. Connect to the bust point. Now from the bust point, I can just give it a little slant. You may want it to be close to the neckline, you may want it to be different, away from the neckline, or anyhow you want to, just give it a little slant at the upper part. We don't make it in such a way that here will have a lot of puff. It will be difficult for you to sew it. So once you take out this one, you sew this point inside so that it doesn't have a puff and slant to the upper part of the dress. Now from this point we're connecting, closing the dart to 22 inches. Closing at 22 inches. Okay, so at the upper part here we're not taking out anything. This is just a slant that we need. Then what is remaining is our circumference for the back. So you remember the measurements we used for the bust point. We used 9.75 plus 1 inch sewing allowance. Okay, now remember that at the bust point, bust line rather, we took 9.75 plus 1 inch sewing allowance. Now at the waistline, we'll measure our normal 8.75 here. Now we'll measure the size of the darts, which is 1.5 plus 1 inch sewing allowance. The same thing at the hip line, hip divided by 4 plus 1, then plus 1 inch sewing allowance. Okay, so that is what we have. You still know that it's not giving us a very nice shape, but after holding the dart, we're going to get the shape that we want. Now the size of the neck line, that's the width of the neckline, depends on what you took from the front. If you did 4 for the front, you're also going to do 4 for the back. If you did 5, you're also going to do 5 for the back. So let's assume we took 5 for the front, and this is where the 5 stops. And like I said before, our armhole continues from wherever the neckline stops. So you're going to use your armhole curve to get, remember before then we'll know the depth of our armhole. We've taken 5 out already, remaining 4. So this is where the 4 is if you're using the 9-inch depth for your armhole. So you're going to measure, but then after cutting your sleeve, it is also good that you use your sleeve to check if the sleeve fits to the armhole. Alright, so that is what we have. Now the neckline for the back depends on what you want. You could just give it make it deeper. You could just give it a little shape depending on how you want it to be. You could make it something like a U shape. Okay, just give it any style you want at the back. You can also leave it like that if you want it to be 4 corner at the back. That's for our back measurement. Don't forget to come up by 1 inch and then locate the middle and connect. Sorry, I'm using my hands to do it. Connect to the side. Okay, so that's it for the back measurement. After sewing, you can do other adjustments that needs to be done. Thank you very much for watching. Please endeavor to subscribe to our channel and you get more videos on a weekly basis. Thank you.